They taped a foreclosure notice to my front door over a porch light. My kids were crying on the steps because a sheriff's seal was flapping in the wind, and our HOA president, Charlene Voss, rolled past in her white SUV with that tight smile, like she'd finally won something she'd been chasing for months. It wasn't drugs or loud parties or unpaid taxes. It was a warm bulb that wasn't the exact shade of warm listed in a binder 2700 instead of 3000. And somehow that turned me into the villain of Silver Pine Crossing. She didn't know I kept receipts, and she definitely didn't know what would happen once my father decided he was in this with me. I moved to Brookdale for the little things. You know what I mean? The smell of pine. After it rains, kids chalking hopscotch on the cul-de-sac neighbors, who wave with a coffee mug in one hand. Like that's the law of the land. I wasn't chasing drama. I wanted quiet. But the day I met Charlene, I learned that some people don't run neighborhoods. They run kingdoms. 3 sharp knocks that rattled the sidelight glass red blazer. Pearl's tablet like a badge. No hello. Just. Per section 4.2.7. Your porch light isn't compliant. Fine is $5 due in 10 days. And then the line she must practice in the mirror. Rules are rules. I swapped the bulb before lunch, sent a polite email. Got a robot reply that said they'd review in 10 to 15 business days, and tried to shake off the feeling of being watched. But once you notice her white SUV idling by the mailboxes at night, windows barely cracked, it sticks in your head. You tell yourself to breathe. Then a thicker envelope shows up. The 125 has become 265, with an administrative fee and a repeat offender tag. Repeat over 1 bulb. My pool fob stops working. Privilege is suspended pending remittance, and a voicemail hits my office phone. Right when my boss is passing by. Just confirming you understand the consequences. She purrs, and he gives me that look like everything cool at home. Dan and you laugh it off, but your ears are burning. The community meeting that month felt like a school assembly from a parallel universe. Charlene rolled in a projector on a cart, clicked through slides of driveways, like she was teaching a class. Called Obedience 101. My porch popped up with a little red laser circle. Her voice turned syrupy. When one person bends the rules, everyone thinks the rules don't matter. She didn't say my name. She didn't have to. And the room did that thing. People do when they're scared. Stare at their knees. Nod along, pretend it isn't happening to them. So it won't happen to them. And I kept my mouth shut. Because I'm the reasonable one. I'm the guy who says sorry. Even when I'm only a little wrong. But reason only works when the system is reasonable. Then the orange paper hit my door. Notice of intent to place lean, bold block letters. My 8-year-old trying to sound out the words like it's homework. My daughter going glassy-eyed when she sees the word sheriff, and that's the moment something inside me flips from embarrassed to angry. A steady kind, the kind that starts pulling files. The so-called repeat violation. That set it all off wasn't even real. It was a trash can. 14 minutes past some magic window in the bylaws we'd been up with. My daughter's cough oatmeal and cough syrup, and the lost shoe. Under the couch morning. I dragged the bin back at 7:14 a.m. Collection is 6:30. I'm inside the window, but her violation photo says 7:29 and carries a crisp $145 fine stapled to a letter that reads like it was translated into English from the language of threat. And then my neighbor Trevor knocks with his phone out. "You gotta see this, man," he says. And on his Ring camera, there she is. a.m. Blazer and tennis shoes tugging my bin by the handle into the edge of my driveway. Stepping back, framing it like she's Ansel Adams, snapping a picture, glancing at her watch, snapping another. And Trevor shakes his head. She dragged the evidence into frame, and that's the twist right there. Yeah, that happened. I scanned every receipt and email, and that Sunday, Delilah Boone from down the block, retired city clerk with a cardboard banker's box and a calm voice that has seen 3 mayors come and go, set the bylaws on my dining table and thumped the cover with a single finger. They skipped steps. She said first, notice by mail, second by mail, then certified. They started with certified and labeled it. Final people let them, because it sounds official, it isn't. And Monday night, I took the stack to my father, Franklin Mercer, who never raises his voice because he doesn't need to. He read the orange notice like a routine operation. Lifted his eyes, went from lake water to steel in half a heartbeat, and said one word. I didn't expect good. I blinked. He smiled without showing teeth. They've overplayed their hand. We ask for everything. By Friday, certified letters were flying with my name, and his letterhead requests for the governing covenants. Proof of mailed notices before. Fines, board vote records. The entire ledger line item. Budgets, reimbursements, landscaping contracts, pool expenses, emails from any board member who typed my name. And when Charlene replied with, "We are within our rights and intimidation tactics will be noted," Dad underlined "within our rights" and said quietly, "People write that when they haven't read their rights, they stalled on the ledger we filed to compel." The first batch was photos of photocopies. Dad sent them back, originals. Please, the originals told their own story, like numbers always do. Pool fund, picking up a $1,680 lunch at a private club. 3 towns over, landscaping invoices rounded to the nearest 100, then rounded again in a second line. Duplicate administrative time approved by the treasurer. Owen, who lives 2 doors down from Charlene, and somehow never sees a violation in his mailbox. Minutes that say, votes were implied by consensus. No roll call, no signatures. And the best part, section 6.2 in black and white, the sequence they pretend exists, but don't follow. The next meeting was standing room only. Fear had lost a little weight, and curiosity had put on muscle. I sat second row with Trevor and Delilah. People who'd been avoiding my eyes waved me into seats, like I was their cousin from out of town. Charlene banged a gavel she bought on the internet and called for order. "We will not be deterred by legal maneuvers," she said, smoothing her blazer. Dad stood like a man stepping into a room he already knew by heart per section 6. He began. "You're required to mail a first and second notice before any certified notice is sent. You did not per your own fine schedule, administrative fees cap. At $25 per incident, you charged $110 per state. Statute, you cannot tamper with evidence and then use that evidence to justify a lien." Charlene scoffed. "We have no such tampering." Trevor plugged in his phone. The Ring video rolled on the projector. Charlene tugging my bin into frame, her breathing on the mic. A ripple ran through the room. Isla, the secretary, slid her nameplate into her tote. Owen studied his shoes like they were scripture, and Dad kept going like a scalpel in 38. Your ledger, the luncheon landscaping double-coded, and a vote to proceed. While 2 board members were past due on their own assessments, and you could feel it, the floorboards of loyalty shifting under her heels. We filed everything the next morning, motion to dismiss the lien counterclaim. For bad faith, selective enforcement abuse of process request for sanctions. Referral to the Attorney General for the money questions, and the courthouse in Brookdale is nothing grand. Beige walls, flickering lights. But my father loves rooms that only ask one thing: tell the truth. Charlene went first, hugged a binder so tight the rings squealed. Pattern of non-compliance. Threatens harmony, she said. The word harmony, wobbling like a table at a diner with a short leg. Dad rose with a legal pad and laid the case out like you lay out a map. Not loud, just clean. This isn't about harmony, it's about process. They didn't follow theirs. They charged what they aren't allowed to charge. They used a photograph. Their president staged. They moved money in ways that deserve daylight. And the judge, a tall man with salt and pepper hair and zero appetite for theater, didn't need fireworks. He needed facts. Ms. Voss. He said, "Explain these pool expenditures." She flipped, found nothing, called them outreach. He asked, at a private club, and then why certified first, and she said, "We believed it more effective," and he replied, "Belief is not compliance," and that was the sound of a chair being pulled out from under a crown. The lien was dismissed. The association was ordered to pay my legal fees. The financial irregularities were referred to the AG. The gavel came down like a door closing, and all the pressure I'd been holding in my chest slipped out with a breath. I didn't realize I was holding. I didn't cheer. I didn't high-five. I just felt my hands unclench, and across the aisle. Charlene tugged at her HOA badge. The pin caught, then snapped. The badge fell to the carpet with a soft click. Her binder slipped, papers fluttered, and no one moved to help. That's how a reign ends. That night, the board met without her. I was home making boxed mac and cheese because my kids asked, and I wasn't going to say no to something simple and warm. Delilah texted a photo of a ballot box. Motion to remove Ms. Voss as president passed by overwhelming majority. And for the first time in weeks, proof matched reality, yeah. That happened. If this were a movie, we'd roll credits, but life likes messy finales. The next morning, a white envelope slid through my mail slot. The HOA's insurance carrier considering coverage for the board's mistakes. A settlement. If I'd sign an NDA, no public statements, no video, no posts, no disparagement. Sign, and they'd expedite reimbursement and seek resolution. Refuse, and they'd fight every inch. I set the letter next to the broken badge. Delilah handed my father outside the courtroom a little trophy. "I didn't ask for," my dad said. "You don't owe them your silence, but you also don't owe them your time forever." My wife squeezed my hand and said, "Whatever lets us sleep," and I sat at the table thinking about neighbors who stared at their knees when Charlene talked. How fear pulls decent people into quiet about every email that opened. With "We are within our rights," about a morning where a grown woman dragged my trash can to stage a photo, and the choice in front of me feels simple, and not simple at all. Power isn't bad. Power without process. HOAs can be good when they plant trees and fix sidewalks and don't ask for plaques. But when someone with a clipboard decides humiliation is a hobby, you either sit down or you stand up. I stood up, and when I did, other people remembered they had legs now. I'm asking you, if they tried to take your house over a porch light and a trash can they dragged into frame, would you sign the NDA to be done or keep talking so the next guy doesn't need a lawyer to keep his mailbox? Should HOAs have this kind of power at all, Or do we need real oversight? So rules are rules, means rules for everyone. Drop a comment. Tell me where you stand. Push back if you think I'm wrong. Tell me your story, if you've lived anything like this, and if you want more real talk about petty power and what fairness actually feels like, hit subscribe. Because the drama doesn't end. It just waits for someone brave enough to press record.